My people, my people, my people, my people, my people. I am back, I am back, I am back. This time, I want to give the people and them a little more trouble to be able to interfere with this video. Right? So right now, let me take some time out to invite you again to watch this video. People, as I said earlier, I wanted to share this video. It is important that you share this video. Why is it important that you share this video? Because I have a lot of information that I want to bring to you. I want to tell you how Gonsalves managed to destroy the National Commercial Bank. How this is insiders information, right? Insiders information that you will never hear anywhere else. How he managed to destroy the National Commercial Bank. How he destroyed the Building and Loans Association. I'm going to tell you the technique he used, right? People, it is important that you share this video. I started this video a little earlier, but I end it because I see some people just cacks up there and they refuse to share the video because all they do, a lot of them, they also do live videos. So what they do, they come here, they get all kind of information, ideas, and they go and they sell those information on their live video like if it is their own. I hope they do not come back, right? That's why I say they want to share the video, because if they share the video, what you will see happening is that the people who watch their live video will know where they get the information from. You understand? That's all they do. They are leeches. They are just like Gonsalves. They are leeches. So now people, as I was saying earlier, Gonsalves never does anything for anyone or any group of people but himself. No matter how much he tell you, this thing is going to benefit you, right? It's going to benefit himself more, and not only that, in the long run, it's not going to be beneficial to you at all. Trust me on this. This is how Caucasians operate when they are in black community, right? Now, for example, he convinced the trade unions that coming out with him and blocking the road, committing crime against the state, obstructing the business of state, would have benefited them. It ain't benefit them yet, because we have teachers who he have manipulated the teachers union, refuse to honor the dealings of the teachers union, right? The public service union, he been pressuring them, and he been pressuring their workers. These are the same people, these are the same union who got him into office, political office as prime minister, right? So they thought that they coming joining with him and blocking the road, becoming criminals, would have benefit them and their membership? No way. It only benefits Gonsalves. He raped Michelle Andrews because he wanted to satisfy his sexual gratification. You understand? He didn't care about Michelle Andrews, he just raped her. In order to avoid prosecution, he used the commissioner of police so that the commissioner of police would not investigate the matter. Who it benefited only? Not the justice system, not St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It only benefited Gonsalves, not even the commissioner of police. Right? Everything he does is done to benefit him and only him. Everything he does, he oppressed Yugi Farrell because he wanted Yugi Farrell to be declared crazy. Because if Yugi Farrell starts speaking about his sexual exploit with her, she's already a crazy woman and nobody's going to take her serious. So Yugi Farrell oppression was not to benefit Camilo Gonsalves, was to benefit his father, Ralph Gonsalves. You understand? Everything he does is done with only one objective in mind: to benefit himself, no one else. Look one of his minion over there. Right? Everything he does, people, everything he touches breaks. In the 70s, they had a group called Ulimo. And while I'm talking here, I'm just inviting people. Out of which came the United People's Movement, a very strong, youthful political group. Ralph Gonsalves got involved in that. He mashed it up. He started his own political party. Right? What happened next? He joined the Labour Party. He mashed up the Labour Party. Right? Everything he touched, he mashed up the Marketing Corporation. Everything he touched, he destroys. He mashed up the National Commercial Bank. Everything he touches, he destroys. Everything he touches, he destroys. That is the nature of the man. Right? He cannot help it. He cannot help it. And he always wants to be in the middle of everything. People share this video. Right? He even mashed up his own party. The party that he formed, built from scratch. Right? He even mashed up his own party because he is not a creator of anything. He's a destroyer of everything. People, if you're going to share something to me, share this video here. Let me know where you're watching from. I see Monica Speckman broke his hair. Kenneth John, you're back here again and you share again. You're a good man. Right? Everything he touches, he destroys. So now, people, I am going to go into details, right, about this thing. We all understand how government functions. Governments are not in business for profits. When government has a surplus, what they do with that surplus is that they use it up to ensure that the citizenry is taken care of. That is what they do with the surplus. Government is not in business for profit. They always have a reserve cash aside for disaster and for other things. But government is not in business for profit. And how government make money to do their plans and to provide the service is through taxation and tariff, right? And the selling of license. That is how governments get money to do their business, through taxation, taxes and tariff, and the selling of license. The selling of license is really for quality control, to ensure that everybody is not doing anything at any time, right? To ensure that the people who are qualified to practice in the field are the people who are practicing in the field, right? To ensure that you don't drive unless you have passed a written test and understand the rules of the road, and unless you have passed a practical competence test. So, taxes and tariff and the selling of license are how governments make money, right? I am going somewhere with this, people. I'm just for those people who don't understand the function of government, and so in order for you to understand where I am coming from, I go into this thing first. Now, you have to remember, taxes comes when government make big taxes. When business and trade is flourishing. Natasha, you're back. Share this video, Natasha. Right? So when government, when they a lot of trade, a lot of export, a lot of import, right? When the citizens are going out and spending money, government make more taxes, so they are able to pay the salaries of all of their employees, and they are able to provide the services that is needed to ensure that the country progress and go forward. Right? That's what we have to realize. Now, the more trade there is in a country, the more export they have, the more circulating capital. That means there is more money for employment, there is more money for family to go out and have dinner, there is more money for a family to buy a car, and they would be able to afford gas because there's more money circulating within the country, right? So when there's a lot of export, there's a lot of money coming, foreign exchange coming into the country. So the circulating capital grows larger. That means the trade within the country gets bigger and more proficient, and then people could start new business because there is enough money circulating. The circulating capital is as such that new business can come in and prosper. But you could only have a big circulating capital within your country if you have a strong export market where foreign exchange comes into your country and people are being paid from the things that they exported. If there's no big export market, then the circulating capital will dwindle and dwindle, because all you're doing is you're buying from outside, and when you buy from outside and no foreign exchange coming in, all your foreign exchange is going out, and all the circulating capital is going out to bring in products and service to take care of the needs of the country. Right? So it is important that we have a big export so we can get foreign exchange, so we can get trade within our country. And when there is trade within the country, taxes are high, more people pay tax, the government has more money to do what it needs to do, to fix the road, to equip hospitals, to employ people and pay their employees, right? To train, to set up training so that the people who need training can be trained so that they can become productive, to ensure that they have a strong educational system, right? So that is what the tax money does. And remember, government don't go out there and sell Marby and cake. They don't sell real estate. They don't go into business, because it is proven the oversight in government business is not sufficient to ensure that the government business become profitable. Right? I'm going to present it whether or not. So here we see that government need to make taxes. They need to get taxes, a steady and regular income of money from the citizenry in order to take care of the business of the citizens of the country. If there's not this steady income of money from the citizenry, the government will be unable to function. They will not be able to afford to hold a general election. They will not be able to provide medical care for its citizens. They will not be able to provide good roads. They will not be able to provide an educational system. So they need taxes. But in order for you to get taxes, you have to grow your GDP. You have to increase the economy. And if the economy is not improved, if you have not improving your GDP, less taxes. Right? That means less trade, less taxes, less monies for the government. Right? Less trade, less monies for the citizenry. Good trade, more VAT, government has more money, right? When you have less trade in your country also, it means that people who will normally pay their full amount of tax will normally start cheating the government and stealing from the government. They will say when they make $1,000, they will say they make $500 and they pay $500 worth of taxes. When you have less trade, you also find a greater level of these delinquencies in paying taxes. That means people who will normally pay their taxes will not pay the taxes because they cannot afford to pay the taxes. So that means in the overall scheme of things, all I'm saying here, the way St. Vincent have been managed for the last 20 years, where they have not grown the GDP, where our export have only dwindled, it means that the government have been taking in less taxes and they were unable to pay salaries from the taxes. That is why our roads are in such terrible conditions. That is why our schools are in such terrible conditions. That is why the hospital don't have any medication. Because the government cannot afford to pay the salaries of the government employees and to do all of the other things, to build new roads, to maintain old roads, to repair bridges, to repair schools, to send people to train. They are unable to do that because they don't have the money. The taxes, the people are not employed, so you cannot pay taxes on their wages if you're not employed. The amount, people are only buying the basic things, so therefore the amount of money on VAT is reduced because people are not employed. People are not buying, going for their license because they cannot afford to pay their license yearly. You will find that a lot of people who are driving, and they are driving on expired license because they cannot afford to buy their license for the upcoming year. All I'm saying is that the way the economy of St. Vincent has been run over the past 20 years, right? It is not conducive for the proper and effective functioning of the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It is certainly not conducive, right? Because what we have seen here is the government have not created an environment where commerce and trade can flourish. They have not created an environment where industries can grow. They have not created an environment where exports have developed or get better. As a matter of fact, export only gotten worse under Ralph Gonsalves administration. Right? So they have not developed an environment that will ensure that government receive the taxes that are needed to do the business of the government. So if government are not collecting sufficient taxes to do the business of the government, therefore they have to get the money somewhere else. Remember, Ralph Gonsalves do not want a riot in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So what he will do, he will ensure that all of the monies goes to the wages of the government employees. Why? Because he don't want a riot. People will only complain about the bad roads that they have to drive on. They will not riot over bad roads. People will only complain about the condition of the hospital, but they will not riot over the condition of the hospital. People will only complain about employment situation in the country, but they will not riot over poor employment in the country. Right? People will only complain about poor working environment, but they will not riot over the poor working environment of the country. People will complain about the high cost of living, but they will not riot over the high cost of living. But what you will find people rioting for is when they are not paid. And remember, the government of St. Vincent and Grenadines has the highest the biggest workforce in St. Vincent and Grenadines. So if government workers were not paid and they decide they're going to strike, it's thousands of people, tens of thousands of people will be on the streets. Listen, the entire government will close down because the Port Authority workers, if they are not paid, they will not work. The teachers, if they are not paid, they will not work. The nurses and the doctors, if they are not paid, they will not work. The public and civil servants who runs the ministries, if they are not paid, they will not work. So the entire government will close down. The police, if they are not paid, although it will be illegal, they will find some reason not to work. They will report sick. So that is why Ralph Gonsalves have been spending all of the monies that he received from taxes in wages for public and civil servant. But guess what? With the dwindling with the dwindling taxes, with the dwindling revenues from taxes and tariffs and license, he found himself in a new situation. He found himself in a new pickle. He cannot afford to pay the wages. So what he have been doing, he have been borrowing money from Barbados, from Trinidad, from St. Lucia. Every Caribbean country have loaned Ralph Gonsalves money at one point in time or the other to pay wages. Right? And this is a fact. Loans that he have not repaid. This is a fact. Right? So, the question you must be asking is, how is it Ralph Gonsalves is unable to pay wages? He have gone to the CDB. He have gone to the Chinese, the tiny Taiwanese. But you can only use those sources for so long. You understand? So the question you have to ask, if Ralph Gonsalves is unable, how come he was able to meet the wages of the public and civil servants for almost 20 years? Right? That's the question is on your mind. It's because Ralph Gonsalves has been instrumental in using the National Commercial Bank to pay the wages. The National Commercial Bank is a private, a government institution, is a bank that was set up by the government to meet the banking needs of the citizens of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It is not an institution that is set up to lend loans to governments. Right? So what Ralph Gonsalves have been doing, because it is the nation bank, but it's the people's money. It's a government bank, but it's the people's money. The management and the board is accountable not to Ralph Gonsalves as Prime Minister, but they are accountable to the citizens whose money are deposited in the bank. So Ralph Gonsalves has been using his authority as Prime Minister to take monies from the National Commercial Bank to pay the salaries of workers. That is why when the National Commercial Bank went bankrupt, the CDB, the Eastern Caribbean, Central Bank, the World Bank, and all these other international agencies where they went to for help to save the bank, all of them said the same thing: sell the bank. Because when they realize the purpose of which the bank went bankrupt. If they give them monies, the same practice is going to continue, because Ralph Gonsalves was in charge of the National Commercial Bank as Prime Minister. You understand? He was the oversight manager of the National Commercial Bank as Prime Minister. So therefore, when he gave an order to make available $20 million to pay wages as the chief oversight officer of the National Commercial Bank, the manager had to comply. That is why a few years ago, one of the managers prematurely resigned, because his reputation as a manager was more important to him than to please Ralph Gonsalves. You understand? People, let me tell you, banks and other financial institutions like banks don't go out of business because of default on loans. Banks, listen to me carefully, banks and other financial organizations do not go bankrupt or go out of business because creditors default on their loans. Let me tell you why. Every loan that a bank gives is insured. You may not know it. Small loans, they tag the insurance onto the interest rate. So the bank is protecting themselves just in case you default on your loans. If it's a big loan, they advise you to take out an insurance policy to cover the loan. Right? Not only you have a life insurance policy that covers the maximum of the loan itself is insured. So even if you are delinquent on the repayment of your loan, the insurance on that loan will cover the loan, right? And even if you die, the insurance policy that you take out, the life insurance policy that you take out will cover the loan. So therefore, financial institutions like the National Commercial Bank and the building and loans have mechanism in place to ensure that their institution does not go under because of delinquent creditors. Right? They have the loan, they have the insurance and the loan, and they have also the life insurance policy in case the creditor die. In case the creditor die, their loan is satisfied. The children get their house and the loan is paid off. You understand? Now, banks and business institutions only go out of business is because their membership leave them and go somewhere else, and they are unable to replace those membership. So in other words, when a bank gets unpopular and the members leave, they go out of business. But loans, never. Right? So that is why the CDB, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, the World Bank and other organizations refuse to refinance the National Commercial Bank. Because Ralph Gonsalves had been taking uninsured loans. Because if he insured the loans, it will raise a red flag in the insurance company that the government, that the National Commercial Bank is insuring a loan to the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And therefore, there's a greater chances of the people knowing. Because the secret among more than one person is not a secret. There's a greater chance that the people knowing that the Ralph Gonsalves cannot pay wages, and therefore he is taking a loan to pay wages. It would have been borne out some 15 years ago. So what he had been doing, he had been taking uninsured loans from the National Commercial Bank to cover his tracks, so that the insurance companies will not know that he was unable to pay wages for a particular month and therefore had to take a loan from the National Commercial Bank, which are not designed to give governments loans. The Caribbean Development Bank, even the central banker give them loans. But they go to other international institutions for loans for government. So that is why the National Commercial Bank went bankrupt, because Ralph Gonsalves took many unsecured loans and he never paid them back. He never paid them back because the economy have never increased. The economy have never improved. The GDP have never risen. The export is still dwindling. So he was unable to pay back the loans to the National Commercial Bank, and they were not insured. So therefore, the National Commercial Bank couldn't claim from the insurance company for those loans. As a matter of fact, I don't think the insurance company would have insured loans going to the government either, because they would have known that since they were borrowing loans from a financial commercial bank to pay salaries, there would have been no way they would be able to pay back the loan, because it means that their Caribbean partners would have rejected them. It would have mean that the international and regional institutions that are set up for those things would have rejected them, and therefore they will not be able to pay back the loans. Let me tell the people, St. Vincent is worse off than Haiti right now. St. Vincent is worse off than Haiti right now. But we would only get to know that when a new administration take over and they see the mess, and when they see Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, Dominica, St. Lucia, Barbados, Antigua, St. Kitts, Montserrat, all of them come in for payment of loan that Ralph Gonsalves borrowed. When you hear the CDB and other institutions calling in loans that Ralph Gonsalves borrowed, when you hear the Republic of Taiwan is coming with a receipt and they need pay for monies that Ralph Gonsalves borrowed, it is only when a new government take over and these people start calling in their loans, we will understand that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is in a worse economic condition than the Republic of Haiti. It is only then. So when the National Commercial Bank was sold on the advisement of the CDB, on the advisement of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, on the advisement of the World Bank and all of the other financial institutions who they went to for refinancing of the National Commercial Bank, right? He had to find a new means of paying salary. Here is where the building and loans come in. Ralph Gonsalves was using the building and loans authority to pay salaries of civil and public servants of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He had been using the Building and Loans Association to pay salaries of the civil and public service in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And when they refuse him, he said, "You're trying to sabotage my government." That's what he was saying. You want people to think that Ralph Gonsalves is incompetent, but I ain't incompetent. He make them feel guilty. He put them on a guilt trip and he was not willing to pay for it. And the foolish managers take their members' money and they give it to Ralph Gonsalves to pay salaries, and they were never repaid. That is why the manager of the Building and Loans saw it fit to go and tell Ralph Gonsalves that we're going bankrupt and we cannot give you any more money. That is why he knew. And the first thing he did, after his action was responsible for bankrupting the St. Vincent de Grenadines Building and Loan Association by taking unsecured loans because he didn't want anybody to know that he's using the building and loans to pay wages. You know what he did? He take out the $1 million his mother had there to secure his mother money. So here he was telling the Building and Loans Association management, you are trying to sabotage my government. You want to make me look like I'm incompetent. And he even threatened them. That is why they gave him money over and over. Right? That is why the Building and Loans Association went down. The managers knew that they should never give him the money. They have never informed their memberships in their annual meetings that they have been giving these monies to the government. They have never informed their membership. They kept Ralph Gonsalves secret. And now they have poor people buying permanent shares in a company whose mandate does not require them to buy permanent shares. Now they are forcing permanent shares on the members of the Building and Loans Association, whose mandate does not require them to be permanent shareholders. The section of law that the Building and Loans Association is set up under does not give them the authority to function as a cooperative. That is what cooperatives do. They offer their members permanent shares. And if you want to rid yourself of those shares, you have to sell those shares to somebody who is interested in buying it. So, listen, the Building and Loans was not re-registered to be a corporation, a cooperative, sorry. The Building and Loans is still a building society. So therefore, when the building society forcefully take people's money and put it in permanent share stock in their company, it was illegal. And those people who want their money should be made to get their money, because the Building and Loans is still operating under a building society legislation and not a cooperative legislation. So they does not have the authority in order for the Building and Loans to bring permanent shares to their members. They have to change the mechanism, the legal mechanism of the Building and Loans. They have to now turn it into a cooperative and now re-register. They now have to cancel their building society license and obtain a cooperative license to function. So when the Building and Loans go in a meeting and ratify that they're going to make people's money, in fact 10% of people's deposit into permanent shares, it was done illegally, because they have to change their mandate of operation from a building to society to a cooperative, which will allow them to offer their members permanent shares. If they want to get rid of those shares, they have to find someone to buy them. They have to trade them. So when this poor old lady was trying to get her $70-something thousand that the Building and Loan convert into permanent shares, she should have gotten it, because it was an illegal move by the Building and Loans to convert the shareholders' money into permanent shares without first getting permission from the general membership to change the operational mandate of the Building and Loans Association from a building society to a cooperative. They didn't do that. So it's illegal for them to take your money and have it as permanent shares. They are going to rush now to do it now that I bring it to your attention. Right? So when Ralph Gonsalves set up this financial service authority to oversee the operation and the functions of trade unions, building society, friendly society, and so forth. Right? What Ralph Gonsalves was doing, he was fitting himself in a position where he can go in through the Financial Service Authority personnel and manipulate the managers and the board of directors into giving him monies to pay salaries. You understand? That is why he bring in rules such as a person cannot sit on a board for more than 2 terms. Right? He is trying to get people like Venus John, who you have on the board of directors and the Bunpan. Just now, in the next few years, Bunpan will not be able to meet its obligation to its members by ensuring that their members are able to bury their deads, because he don't fill up the Bunpan board with his cronies like Venus John, the same woman who James Mitchell transferred to 705 Radio because he caught her giving Ralph Gonsalves information from the ministries. And the same woman who he fired from 705 make her job redundant because she catch him again. He catch her again giving Ralph Gonsalves information about the workings and the things that happen in 705. The same woman who Ralph Gonsalves re-employed when he come into government to repay her. You understand? He now have those people on the Bunpan boards and other boards so that they can make sure when he come for money, it is approved, even at the detriment of the organization, even at the detriment of the members. You understand? That is what he's doing. So when the NDP, when Ralph Gonsalves come and say, I am doing this because to protect the people. No! He was protecting his government. He was protecting his legacy. He was protecting himself. Yet, the NDP voted without serious opposition to the establishment of the Financial Service Authority as it was. So now, no matter if my confidence is in John Jones, his oversight as a director, his understanding of the business, his integrity, no matter if my confidence is in John Jones to sit on the board, once he do 2 terms, all of his knowledge, all of his skills, his understanding of the functioning of the organization is kicked off of the board, and someone who don't know what they're doing is put on it. Someone like Venus John is put on the board so that Ralph Gonsalves could come in. And so Ralph Gonsalves could get money to pay wages to avoid a strike. People, and when the new government come over and they can't pay wages, you see, I tell you also, I tell you all this, but guess what? He mashed up the National Insurance Scheme. He mashed up the National Commercial Bank. He mashed up the building and loans. He going, listen to me, I could bet anything. If you ask the managers of the Teachers Credit Union, the Public Service Union, and other union, that Ralph Gonsalves have gotten money from their unions as loans that were not secured by insurance. He didn't tell them what it's for. They did not report it to their membership. They kept it their secret. The members of the board keep it their secret. The accountants came in, they did the accounts, they present the accounts. Everything is accounted for because the loan to the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines was accounted for in the accounts. The accountants don't say whether this was a bad loan and so forth. They just come to ensure that all of the monies that were deposited are accounted for in loans and in salaries and so forth. That's all they do. That the monies that were deposited are accounted for. That is why they are called accountants. They account for the monies that were deposited. So if $5 million went to the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, whether it was paid back or not, the $5 million were accounted for, therefore the books were right. The managers knew what they did. The board of directors knew what they did. It is up to the managers and the directors to inform their membership. It is not the accountant's responsibility to inform the membership. So the accounts is good. Remember, people, for almost 12 years of Ralph Gonsalves governments, the accounts of the Building and Loans Association was good because the money that was lent to the government, whether it was bad loans or good loans, it was accounted for. And that is what the accountants is there for, to ensure all monies are accounted for, to ensure they know how each of the monies that were taken in are spent. That is why they want to see receipts. You understand? So that is why he started the Financial Service Authority, so that he could know the accounts of every credit union, every friendly society, every building society, right, on the island. So he can come when it suits him to take $1 million here, $1 million here as loans. Promise the managers scholarship. Promise the managers a trip to Cuba, or even give the managers a cutback. But the monies are accounted for. $1 million went to the government as loan. But there is no repayment. The monies are accounted for. The National Commercial Bank, their accounts came up good every year. The monies of the National Commercial Bank that went to the government, that shouldn't have gone to the government, were accounted for. There was no reason for questioning that. For almost 12 years of Ralph Gonsalves government, the Building and Loans has good accounting because the monies that should not have gone to the government were accounted for. Loans to the government, it's not the accountant's business to enforce the repayment of the loans. All they are there for is to ensure that the monies are accounted for and to make recommendations. The recommendations never come to the membership. It goes to the management and the board of directors. You understand? People are wanting to share this video still. So here we see Ralph Gonsalves have been telling the trade unions who are going to borrow to take money from, to give him loans. You're trying to sabotage my government. You want me to look like I'm incompetent, make them feel guilty when he call him in his office for a private meeting. Use his demonic subliminal witchcraft thing to make them feel guilty and to make them feel sorry for him and to provide the money for him to pay the wages. But how long it could go on for? How many more building and loans we have to have in St. Vincent and the Grenadines before the opposition start opposing? How many more building and loans and National Commercial Bank we have to have in St. Vincent and the Grenadines before the opposition get up and do what they're supposed to do and go and do this investigation? Listen to me. They will look at this video because all of them look at the video. And they will never go and ask management of the credit union in St. Vincent and the Grenadines of the bun pan of the building and loans. Or go and speak to one of the old managers from the National Commercial Bank, who, especially that one who resigned prematurely some years ago, and leave St. Vincent and Grenadines. Find these people, ask them if what I'm saying here is wrong. If you ask them direct questions, you are going to get direct answers. But if you ask them questions that give them wiggle room, they're not going to answer you. Go ask them. They will never do it because they are lazy. Dr. Friday is a lazy man. Leacock is not known to be a lazy man because he had been volunteering all his life. Since he was a teenager, he was a volunteer as a cadet. He worked his way up the cadet ranks. He manages the cadet force. For many years, I cannot say he's a lazy man. He has given years of his life to the St. Vincent and Grenadines Footballer Federation. But it seems under Dr. Friday administration, Leacock has found his lazy side. Because when Arnhem Eustace was the leader of the opposition, Leacock was always behind Eustace. They're running here, they're running there, they're doing this, they're doing that. Leacock is not known to be lazy. But under Friday, he became lazy because Leacock is not doing the oversight work that he used to do under Ralph Gonsalves. Leacock always had information about what is happening. He will go and he will find out information, but he don't do it anymore. Why worry when we can sit back, be paid, and do nothing? People, it is everybody's dream to get paid to do nothing. Dr. Friday have found the perfect job where he's being paid to do nothing. Right? And I forget to call Ralph Gonsalves out of his name in this video. But it's all good. It's all good. I forget to call him shit stain. But it's all good. Because you see, sometimes when you are presenting information that the people need, the little semantics like name calling and so is not important. You stick to what you have to say. You understand? So people, this is what I'm saying. Right? But Gonsalves is not receiving enough taxation to pay wages. He has to pay wages through other means, by borrowing monies. Why you think he and Kipasa, the drugs man, follow? Kipasa has been giving him millions and millions of dollars to pay wage. Kipasa had been paying the wage of civil servants in St. Vincent and Grenadines. But he get fed up. And when he tell Ralph Gonsalves no, Ralph Gonsalves use the instrument of government to seize his assets, to investigate him, prosecute him, and convict him for money laundering. That is why Kipasa is in prison. Nothing else. You're getting this money from illegal means. You should give it me, this money, to run the affairs of my country so that I can look like I'm know what I'm doing. When he have the idea what he's doing. People, this is just a simple truth. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. A lot of you don't like to hear the truth. You understand? You don't want, because when you hear the truth, you are forced to act upon the truth that you know. And you don't want to act. Right? You don't want to act, you want to sit by. You want to sit by idly. Ralph Gonsalves have been paying salaries by calling these leaders and board of directors for credit unions into his office and accuse them of trying to sabotage his government when they don't use the membership monies to pay salaries for him. They are accused of trying to make him look like he's incompetent and trying to make him look bad. They are sent and guilt trip in his office. And they always give him monies. Sometimes not all he asks for. But any smart man will know If you want 20 million, ask for 40, they give you 20. He always gets his monies from the people. People. Ralph Gonsalves, he can't pay salaries. He can't fix the roads. He can't take care of the needs, health needs of the ministries. He can't take of the trade need of the countries. He can't run the government because there's no resources to run the government. The little money he gets from taxations, taxes and tariff and licensing, he put it to the salaries, and he had to go out and scrunt for money to make up to pay the salaries. People, when the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines changes, that is why he's fighting tooth and nail not to change it. We are going to see Grenada, St. Lucia, Dominica, St. Kitts, Antigua, Bermuda, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, even Venezuela coming to us with receipts that need to be taken care of, because Ralph Gonsalves would have borrowed monies from them to pay wages, to ensure that there wasn't a strike, to ensure that there wasn't a riot, to ensure that his government survived so long. They'll be coming to the new administration for payment. The new administration will be unable to pay wages. And he's going to sit back and say, look, that's what they want to run government for, and they can't pay wages. When he would have depleted every means of income in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, where the government could have gotten taxes, he killed the export market. Now, we are exporting our country into bankruptcy. We are importing our country into bankruptcy. Right? Our country cannot afford to import these things that are being imported so that the supermarket, the car dealers, the lumber yards, the hardwares, and all of these people who import things to make a profit. We cannot afford it. People, we cannot afford to import all of these things, and we cannot afford to encourage, to give people loans to start new industries to cut down on the import. People, there are so many things we don't have to import, but we are forced to import because we are not producing it in our country. So many things we should not import, but we are forced to import because even though if we produce it, the price for producing it will be too high to be sold at a profit in our country, because Ralph Gonsalves have messed up our country so bad that we ain't the no way. People, and all they don't want Ralph Gonsalves to look bad. And all they don't want the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to hear the truth about Ralph Gonsalves and his government. So you would not share the video. But that's quite okay with me. I have done my part. I have brought you the information. I have told you what Ralph Gonsalves have been doing for the past 20 plus years. I've told you the technique, how we invite these people to his office. And he make them feel guilty of being the ones who will be responsible for bringing down his government. Who will be responsible for making him look like he's incompetent. Send them on a guilt trip and they give him their members money that you shouldn't give him. They keep it secret among themselves and the management and the board. They never reveal it to their membership. People, they don't want nobody to know. Keep Ralph Gonsalves secret, like how we rape half of you. And half of you still keeping a secret. Half of you will come and cocks up here. Being his rape victim who have kept his secret. Listen to me. But you're protecting your rapists. Half of you will pretend that you're my friends. and that you like to hear me speak, but you're still protecting Ralph Gonsalves. Because you are his victim. You will forever remain his victim, people. I know who all you, every one of you, I know who all you are. I have to play along with you. Because it is a bit foolish for me to make an enemy of the world. Right? Foolish. Most I thank you for the knowledge, understanding, and the wisdom that you have given to me. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this knowledge, understanding, and wisdom with these people. And I hope they are wise enough to share it with others by sharing this video.